All right, everybody, welcome to another edition of What Drives You. I am one of your co-hosts, Stan Windhorn. With me, as always, is my good buddy and co-host. He's trying to make sure he's got green on because it's St. Patrick's Day. Carl, say hello to everybody.
Hey everybody, thank you. I,
You, ju-
I was hoping
you,
this was going to fit a little better, but yeah, as Stan said, I'm just going to scoot in so I'm not yelling and
Just
screaming. You can
back
see
up.
my
Just back
face.
up and do it from a few feet away.
Hello. Well, we've got a
you
great
know, the funny
guest.
part is he made sure that I was wearing green for this episode, and then look at see how things work around here. Anyway, enough of that. Carl, let's talk about our guest today. Tell us a little bit about Mr. Joe Webb.
Joe Webb is an old friend and an old industry collaborator, let's say,
He
who I've
said
known
old
for.
twice. He said old twice.
Oh, yeah, sorry, yeah. Well, I'm older than you, I think, so you don't have to worry about that. And Stan's older than both of us, so we're right there. But we won't talk about that. So Joe is in Florida. He runs a company called Dealer Knows, but he's been involved in a million different things. So Joe, thanks for joining us on this
Thank
St.
you so much for
Patty's.
having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. No, and for those of you who are new to the channel, we started out in the auto industry. We've had a bunch of auto people, many of which Joe knows and has watched. So to have him on and kind of fill in some of the gaps and cross pollinate, experiences and life journeys in the auto industry is going to be fun today. So yeah, and he's in 70-degree Florida, and I'm in 22-degree Illinois. So thanks again,
So
Joe.
listen, I mean, being from Chicago, I moved down to Florida for a reason. I don't miss shoveling snow, and people are always saying, "Oh, it doesn't get hot there." I'm like, you don't shovel sunshine. Like, if it gets hot, you go inside. And people are saying, "Well, when it's cold, you can go inside there." I said, "No, you still have to go outside to shovel. You still have to." So, I mean, I moved down here from Chicago about 12, 13, 14 years ago. Yeah, 14,
Yeah.
14 or 15 now. Geez, about
It's
14
been
and
a
a
long
half years.
time since I've lived in the snowy weather too, Joe. I'm going to steal that line. You never have to shovel sunshine. I like
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
Yep. No, where are
awesome.
you from, Stan?
I'm a Michigan, and then middle of eighth grade moved to Mattoon, Illinois, and then went to school down at SIU in Carbondale. So I'm an Illinois boy as well, and I left the snowy weather a long time ago. I've shoveled enough snow to last me a lifetime, but anyway,
You guys are
uh,
both smarter than me because you're both out of the snow. So
we're in the
it's a good
nice.
thing.
It's a gorgeous day in Austin, Texas today. Just perfect. But
I love
anyway.
Austin. It used to be one of my favorite cities. Now it might be my second favorite city.
It's changed a lot. I was just so in love with this city 20 years ago. It's grown up now. It's like a real city
A
instead of
little
a
too
funky
corporate for
city.
you,
Little
too
bit. But
tech.
hey, listen,
Yeah.
there's worse places to be. So what I want to know is I want to know about Dealer Knows. First of all, what a great name. How'd you come up with that?
Well, hold on.
Oh,
Before we
oh,
get
sorry.
there, Joe, so keep pinning that one. How'd you get in the car business? Because all that builds up to dealer no. So let's talk. Let's come back to my town, the cold town, and tell us how you got in the biz and where I met you. I can't even. I was trying to figure out when you and I met. It was many years ago.
I mean, do you want the long full story or just the short story? I mean, I'll give you the short story. Is I was working in the liquor, wine, and spirit industry, real young out of college, and I mean, went from Miller Brewing Company to Doer Scotch to a company called Sheffield and Somerset, and a lot of my job was to go into bars and nightclubs and lounges and restaurants and throw parties and buy people drinks and have a good time. Of which most people say, "Well, that sounds like a dream job," and in many cases it was, especially as an Irishman, where you
Mhm.
had to spend your life, imbibing from noon until 4 a.m. every morning, and it was fun and a little reckless. And at one point, I think a little bit the three martini lunches and seven Scotch dinners were getting a hold of me anyway. But I had an opportunity for a sales management position that I didn't feel strongly enough about that I was good at selling. Interesting enough, like even though part of my sort of marketing and sales job was, the sale of product. If somebody wanted a $5,000 bottle of Hennessy Timeless Cognac, in an venue, they would send me in and I'd bring the whole bottle and pull one and a quarter ounce and talk about the oak aging and all this. And I would sell it in, but I knew I sucked at negotiation because after graduating college, I went to buy a Ford Explorer, like a new Ford Explorer. That's what I wanted, like the black Ford Explorer XLT. That's what I wanted. And I remember purchasing from a salesman was just a miserable experience. And I'm sure we paid way too much money for the vehicle. So I think I disliked salespeople. And I had an opportunity to get into sales management, albeit in a distributorship for liquor, wine, and spirits. But I felt that I wasn't strong enough on the sales side, which is crazy because I think I've always been a salesperson, even when I was like a teenager. With that said, my buddy who claimed to be setting the world on fire in car sales said, Joe, all you got to do is sell cars for a couple months and you'll learn all the tricks, all the takeaway clothes and every single way to overcome it. So I took a class on how to sell cars, which, as a person who owns a training company, I would tell everybody to never do. And
Hmm.
and it was run by like a 107-year-old man with a mustache, and it was in a Holiday Inn, and he's smoking inside, and it was just a bad experience. So I got kicked out of class. It was a 7-day course. He kicked me out on day two, and I drove to the nearest dealership, and a Suzuki dealership, and they kicked me out of there because I was too green, didn't know anything in their opinion. And then I walked across the street to a big dealership, and I was hired on the spot. And just like all of us, I think none of us expected to be in automotive or automotive retail for a long time. Some people that immediately go to the vendor side and they look at it more of a tech company and maybe not automotive as well. But if you lived at all in a dealership, you know it's sort of like a drug. And it and not the drug part of the automotive retail, but actual like the selling of the vehicles. So with that said, I it gets a hold of you and the territory that they were keeping up open for me as a sales management job. I eventually said I wasn't interested and I was going to pursue this and parlayed that into about 7 years later, started my own company. And I have spent the last, what is it, 18 since 2008, so 18 years going around the nation and speaking to great people and teaching them how to improve how they communicate with customers and how to incorporate in processes into their operations and into their communication and help people set more appointments, sell more cars, and feel better doing it.
Yeah. That's so Stan, that's where you and Joe, I forgot how much training he did. I thought it was more consulting than training, but now hearing the backstory. So that's where you and him will hit it off. When you two guys, and this no BS, no smoke blowing just because it's St. Patty's Day. You get when you guys walk in a room, Stan, because I've seen you both, you guys control the room. You're both big, tall, 6'3", 4'5" guys, just big, and your presence and your spirit and your confidence is so similar. And it's just, I don't know if it's that, lumberjack thing that, Paul Bunyan type of thing,
I
but it
can't swing an axe. I can no, I false. Actually, I was born. I learned when those axe throwing places. I don't know. I'd never done it before. This is a handful of years ago. I learned that day that apparently I was born only to throw axes because I'm like a
an
god at
ace.
it. I don't know. Like even the people that own it were coming over and testing me on how good I could be. Like across the room, double long handle type, like really dangerous stuff. And apparently, I'm far better at that than I am at anything automotive, and I'm decent at automotive. But with that said, not a lumberjack. I think as Stan, and I don't know Stan well, but there has to be an air of Will Ferrell in everybody, which is by no means a fake it till you make it, but there's like an overconfidence that some people have where you're like, when I walk in a room, I'm pretty sure I got this figured out. Which is just like on this podcast where you're like, hey Joe, well, we don't really have much that we're gonna go over, but we're just gonna, you know, throw stuff at you. And I said, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, it helps when I'm going into a room to do a presentation or anything. I usually am not going into that room without knowing my stuff. And
Mhm.
if you've got confidence in what you're speaking about, and also you believe in what you're speaking about, I think it's pretty easy to walk in with that confidence.
Mhm. Yeah, 100%.
All right, so we'll jump into auto and the dealer knows in a second here, but this is where I put this challenge out, Joe, to Stan this year and another buddy of ours. And I know you have experience on a stage in front of people. I don't know if you have a stand-up experience, but I've challenged Stan and our other friend Ken that this is the year because they talk about how funny they are and their little bits and their shticks and their scripts and all that. I said, all right, sucker, get on a freaking stage because Joe and I have gone to, I mean, Stan and I have gone to Joe Rogan's place twice in the last 6 months in Austin and just laughed our asses off. So I'm like, Stan, I know you're better than some of those people. So tell us about your stage experience, your second city, all that stuff you were doing here in Chicago, and how that has parlayed you into a better trainer, better speaker. Stan, he's done some unbelievable skits on film, these like little mini videos that are just freaking hilarious. Like almost the theme of The Office, this dark comedy, sarcasm. They're just, I mean, you got to, we'll get one sent to you, but tell us about that transition from those experiences into auto and training.
Yeah, I mean, I will say I was never a theater dude at all, and yet in high school, for some reason, in a theater class, you had to take it, and they put you on stage, and they were experimenting with improv, and apparently, I really enjoyed it, and for that reason, when I was looking ahead at college, and they're like, would you pick your major, pick your minor, and I'm like, I'll go with theater because that's seems pretty easy, and for the most part, it was a lot of fun and exploring. And as you had mentioned before we started recording, a die-hard movie buff, I was very enthralled with that the means of acting and or pretend. So after college, I got involved with first Improv Olympic in Chicago. Now it's called IO Chicago. And I did that for a year or so, maybe a little more. And, perform on stage, all pure improv. And then I was already met my wife, got married. So I took some time off. And then I got back into Second City. And then I did a year Second City. And then you audition to get into Second City again. And, well, to get onto like a performing troupe, if you will. So I auditioned and I got onto a troupe, and then we performed again for another year and a half or more. And then I did some fun video sketch things. And then inevitably, my wife and I are like, we're getting, well, before we got married, now we're getting, we're going to have a child. So it's hard to say, hey, babe, I know I'm in the auto industry and I work 55, 60 hours a week. But those 2 days I have off, yeah, two. Those 2 days I have off, one of them I'm going to spend downtown Chicago rehearsing with my troupe, my family, other family. And the other day, I'm going to perform for other people and make them laugh, not you, not the baby. And then afterwards, we're going to be riding high. So we're going to go out to the Irish pub across the street and we're going to have drinks. And that doesn't go over well. That's not a great conversation to have. So, for the reason I gave up that. And in automotive, just to sort of fix my sick, sarcastic brain, I started making some comedic videos about the things that were wrong about automotive or how they were, and I would play those during my early conference speaking sessions. And I guess at the time nobody was doing that stuff. So I will say, if it weren't for that, I wouldn't have been known. I wouldn't have been able to start Dealer Knows, like even in automotive, even at the retail level. Like I was sending video messages, goofy video messages, comedic video messages to customers just to get noticed and to be remembered. And I still to this day train the power of video and go in and just like my training, I try to make everything fun. I try to entertain. If I can make people laugh, and don't get me wrong, if I can sometimes humiliate them, like I'm from Chicago, so part of the profanity, but I do bust some balls, as any automotive or car guy would, I would say that definitely has shaped how I approach my training, how I approach my clients, how I approach myself. And because you need to have fun in what you do. And if you can't have fun, if you can't mix it up with customers and you can't mix it up with coworkers, then it's a grind. And I don't like grinds.
Yeah.
I can so relate to a lot of things you said. I was a radio and TV major with a minor in theater, Joe. So I wasn't far behind on
I
that.
started that major and then I flipped over to PR, but yeah.
Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah. Anyway, I had a lot of the similar experiences. I am going to call Carl out real quick though, because he's thrown down this challenge as if I'm going to have a problem going to an open mic night. Carl, you've seen it yourself. I've gotten up in front of places and done
But that's
stuff
singing.
even when
That's
there
different than
wasn't.
comedy. That singing is different.
Not
You're a
really.
good
Not
singer.
that song. Not that
So I'm
song.
yeah,
That was
I'm
a
a
comedy
terrible
song.
singer. Yeah, but here, if I may, I will say, like the first time I did stand up, I only did stand up like a dozen times. I was always more of an improv and sketch guy, but obviously, like I fancy myself a writer. Yeah, I've never read about anything fancy, but I fancy myself a writer. So I really tackled and got excited about stand-up comedy. So about the first time I did it, wasn't it open my buddy's like, hey, I'm hosting an open mic. I want you to come out. You've been wanting to do it, come out and do it. Well, I get there and it's an open mic for folk musicians. So it's like all these guys with acoustic guitars, a couple banjos, somebody with a violin, and like, okay, now my buddy Joe's gonna do some comedy for us. And my comedy, I go up not as myself, but sort of in character. And my character is a bit of a prick. And it's just like it's just my style of humor, like the Andy Kaufman esque where you don't know if you hate him or
Yeah.
if he's just you know
You're wondering whether or
doing
not
it.
that's real or not, or if he's playing a character.
Exactly. And that was my
Yeah.
character. And I will say, well, I was getting a few laughs. Most people start off with like 2 minutes, two and a half
Yeah.
minutes on stage. I'm like, how much time do I have? He said, 12 and a half. So my first ever foray at stand-up, I did 12 like a 12-minute set uh, for a bunch of folk musicians. It
That's
didn't it
awesome.
didn't land the way you expected it to. Okay.
Trial by
Yeah,
fire.
it did not land the way you expected it to.
Well, I got to be honest with you. One of the reasons that I haven't already done it is a couple of the places here, the comedy places that offer open mic nights, they give you 1 minute.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking 12 and a half. Now that's a little bit on the other side of it for someone who's new. I mean, I could probably string together 12 minutes. But I'm trying to think, what do I do and how in the world do you even build up when you've got a minute
Yeah, it's got
to
to be a
open
quick
mic?
story, quick punchline. I mean, just like Seth Godin, famously said, and I'll have to paraphrase, but I think it was Seth Godin that said like the people who learn to write short are the smart ones. Like if you can figure out how to write things quickly and short are the smart ones. So you look at a comedian like Mitch Hedberg, who's all like, he in 1 minute he can get 8, 10 solid jokes out.
Yeah.
And same with Rodney Dangerfield,
Yep.
so uh,
One-liners.
yeah. So I mean,
Yeah.
so I think if you've got a minute, the trick is do you build up and get one good laugh, or do you go and try to get three?
Try to
And
get
I
three
think
or
that'd be
four
tough.
with some one-liners. Yeah. I don't know. I'll have to work that part out.
So you have done stand up, which is great because that to me is one of my biggest. I have two like big fears. That one being out there stranded in front of a mic, doing comedy, and just being embarrassed. And then my other nightmare is bull riding, where my hand gets stuck in there, and you're flopping around like a doll. That's my other nightmare.
And it's
Those
just
those are two
breaking
things.
your hand and dislocating everything from your shoulder. Yeah.
Those two
Yeah.
things just scare the
I'm
bejesus.
not
So
I'm not a fan of like people that go into caves and get stuck. Like
Oh,
that's
that's it.
no go.
Oh,
That's a no
no,
go for
sir.
me. Yeah.
No, sir. Well, that's comes, I think maybe because we're big guys, but yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever been down to Southern Illinois where the Giant City State Park, they've got a thing called the Fat Man Squeeze?
No, but I would fail that.
Yeah. Oh, I refused it.
Yeah.
It's a like on the weekends, a lot of college students and stuff, but you go through this crack in this thing and you got to go up and turn and come out of this tiny little hole at the top. And back in college, everybody was like, "You're not a real man if you don't do fat man squeeze." And I'm like, I am fine without being a
Yeah.
real man then, because
Yeah.
there is no way I'm getting stuck in that thing. That would
Exactly.
be my biggest fear for sure.
So back to your business, and I know this is not going to be a commercial about Dealer Knows,
Yeah.
but all these experiences, selling booze, theater, training, stand up, how does that turn you into one of the most probably known, maybe not Grant Cardone known, maybe not what's the other big trainer,
Yeah.
but
I don't want to be those
no, I know.
be that
Well,
level.
we could
I
talk
was
about
thinking the
their,
same thing.
Yeah.
but just a known commodity that is continually hired over and over and over and over and does a great job.
I appreciate that. And I will give Venmo you your $5. I will say that I think if you're, and it's gonna sound so pompous, but like I think if you're true to yourself and you just try to be yourself, like not that character on stage, but if you try to be yourself and genuinely, and I talk a lot about this, like care about the people that you're training, like want to see them do well, care about the content that you're sharing with them and the message you're giving them. I think, you know, if you can couple, and I guess maybe I've learned to couple some of my broken brain and personality into uh, incentivizing people and giving people the skills to better communicate with others, then that's what I do. I don't. I mean, I always say I've never spent a dollar on marketing per se, and besides the videos I used to make, and that was years and years and years ago. Everybody still asks me, Jim Bella, if you know Jim, posted something on LinkedIn like 2, 3 days ago saying like it's been 15 years. When do we get more of these? And the truth is, once you move away from Chicago, where dealers are closed on Sundays, and I knew people who could just throw me the keys and say, "Yeah, film on my at my dealership on a Sunday and give me back the keys Sunday night." And my video guy is in Illinois. It would be easy to go and knock out videos all the time with him. But now I'm in Florida. He's in Illinois. Dealerships here open 7 days a week. So unless you're going to try to film around people going sales 50, sales 50, and then it's not going to, come over even with sort of directional mics. So with that said, I don't know. I don't think I'm a commodity. I do think sometimes I'm surprised at how many people I know or how many people know me, and I'm grateful for that. I just believe in trying to put out good content and give people the right messages, the right, steer them in the right direction with some of the right information. And what they do with it, hopefully, is for the positive.
So are you and Joe, sorry I don't know this, and maybe this is for my edification, but also for our industry. Are you I come in for a week and I kick ass and then good luck? Are you the guy that comes in quarterly? What's your kind of business model around that? Or do you, like some of these others mentioned, you sell classes or videos or subscriptions? How does your business model work?
Yeah, no, I mean, so first of all, like I always say, I'm not a motivational speaker. I'm a demotivational speaker. Like I'm much better at telling people all things they're doing wrong and how to fix it than getting them really excited about doing things. But with that said, typically I'll kick off with like a 2 day launch, 2.5 day launch with whoever they're looking me to spend time training. Usually it's myself and one other, one on phones and me on more internet BDC sales, if you will. And we try to a lot of times just refresh what is happening inside their CRM. CRM is the most important tool any dealership has at their disposal, in my opinion, if they use it right and if everybody uses it to its fullest. So I try to, update the messaging, the methodology of which we're communicating with customers. But then, back in 2008, 2009, I realized I didn't want to fly all over creation and only have my training happen then. I've never done the full preloaded video, so my team and I usually do live interactive video chat training with the people we're training, whether it be a BDC, whether it be an internet sales team, whether it be a sales team, whether it be managers, We will once a week meet with them for an hour or so, doing everything from role playing, drilling into their CRM live with them, and pulling up opportunities and explaining, walking them through our thought processes, their thought processes, question and answer, and make sure they just understand not only the best practices of how to communicate, um, but moreover the not just the what and when, but the how and the why. And then we built our own technology several years ago, 12 so years ago, where we grade how thoroughly your team or your dealership teams follow up with their opportunities. Not just that we don't mystery shop anybody, it's access to the CRM. We become the watchful eye in a CRM where we grade them A, B, C, D, F, B plus, C minus, and regular recaps and coaching feedback, what they did right, what they did wrong, what they still could do to convert that customer into an appointment or into a sale. And we do that on inbound leads. We list the inbound sales calls and we coach sales calls. And then we do the same for whether or not they're following up with their unsold showroom prospect. Because while CRMs measure a lot of good information, it's usually result based and not activity based or performance based. We look at the performance, we look at the activity, and then we, couple that sort of accountability process with how we're holding them accountable with these regular recaps, not just to the people themselves, but their managers, so they can use them as coaching opportunities. And then we have another software that teaches managers how to do a coach up, how to do a write up if they're way off process, or if they're doing simply the wrong stuff. Because training shouldn't just happen for me, training should happen inside a dealership, training should happen every day. If the only time your sales managers train or talk to your salespeople is when they come up to the desk with a customer, then you've got the wrong sales managers. It really needs to be every single dealership should be an environment of learning, if you will, and not just slapping hands and cracking skulls, but as ones to sort of grow people. And that's what I like to think I do first and foremost is grow like happy and productive teams.
I love
No,
that.
and with that
A
said,
couple
I
of
spend.
specific questions
Oh
for
yeah,
you, Joe.
yeah, please.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, please finish your thought.
No, and I spend during COVID, I separated myself just from solely dealing as I spend a week a month at a dealer group out of state, a week a month where I have, signing privileges. So I have been able to, well, the owner is a friend of mine, and I'm like sort of officially second in command. He and I don't always see eye to eye. We go about things differently. He still pays the bills, but I do my best to what his vision is, implement it, coupled with a means to grow people. The implement a process, grow people to adhere to that process and help them and the organization make money. So I still have a sandbox that I get to play in on the retail side regularly. So I'm not just a trainer or teacher. I get to be a facilitator on the regular too.
Hmm.
Nice. I've got a couple of specific questions for
Yeah.
you. It sounds like you work a lot with processes and things at dealerships, primarily based around, well, what starts with leads, turning those into appointments, and then turning those appointments into shows and sales. Uh, this may be too broad of a question, but in your experience, what's the main thing or the main things that dealers typically are falling short on when it comes to getting leads, whether internet or inbound? Where are the key places where a dealership falls short in turning that lead into a customer?
Effort. And so, I mean, like when I say that, I mean, I think too many people, I'll gladly give a dealership 300 templates. The one thing I train is like allow that to preload for you, read it, understand the contact history, and then craft a message, maybe with some of the information there, but like take your time. I think people are too quick, especially maybe the younger generation, too quick to just use acronyms and answer real quick, short. I don't even want to say to the point, but sometimes curt, because
Mm,
they view their time. They would rather watch TikTok in the showroom floor than to spend the time crafting a quality text response back to a customer or going out and shooting a video of the vehicle of interest and showing proof of life or or going out really selecting a vehicle for the customer and talking to them about the finer points. And they don't do that in written communication. They don't pick up the phone. They don't leave voicemails. They don't spend the time and give the effort that they need to. They're quick to drop somebody that hasn't been, answering them in 2 or 3 days. So I think effort goes a long way into, and don't get me wrong, the measurement of the effort. A lot goes under effort.
Yeah.
How you communicate, the mediums in which you communicate, the time and attention you pay. But every single lead is like a puzzle. And the question, maybe it's like I'm like Dr. House without the limp, but the question is like, what do I need to piece together for this customer to make this picture 100% clear for them that we're the place they need to buy a car?
Yeah, I think that's been my experience too. Is that there's a lot of answers to that, but it does fall under effort, especially in staying after something. People seem to give up a little bit too quick. I'm going to read something to you real quick. I want to get your response, Carl. I want to get yours on this too. This I actually prepared for a little presentation that I did this week too, but there was a study that was done by the Harvard Business Review.
Never heard of them.
Yeah, it's some little, I think Harvard, they're like a little tiny school somewhere, I think. But anyway, the study found that only 27% of internet leads are ever contacted successfully by the dealership that receives them. And basically, in other words, that means that nearly 75% of the buyers who have raised their hand never actually talked to the dealership that paid for the lead. We all know that dealers are paying a boatload of money for these leads, and yet it seems to me that there is just a great inefficiency of capitalizing on the leads that they've paid for.
Is that automotive specific, that study?
That was automotive specific, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and I think a lot of that comes to the information we collect. I think we all know that right now, 15 to 20% of people pick up the phone. And I always try to explain from a contact or connection ratio, as we
Yeah,
call it. Maybe if you get 100 opportunities, internet leads, for instance, and all 100 have phone numbers, then you might initially reach, or for the short term reach, 15 to 20 of them through email. You might add on an extra 10%. So maybe you, with just email and phone, if you're only using those two mediums, you might only connect with 30. With text, if you're using a CRM that doesn't require them to opt in with a yes, at that point
yep,
you only get 30, 35, up to 40% of customers will say yes, it's okay to text me. But if you
yep,
can use one of the CRMs that allow you to send the text to them on the onset with an opt out, then
yep,
typically we see 60 to 70% engagement.
yeah.
So I guess some of it, not that I'm refuting Harvard business law, I don't have the data, but in the CRMs that we see from a connectivity standpoint, if you're able to incorporate in text communication with an opt out rather than the opt in, then that should be considerably higher than that. And if it's still just 27%, it's because some dealers are not valuing leads. And I will tell you, if you were to consider service leads as part of the count, then 27% is probably high.
Well, here's the thing I always think about these kinds of studies is first of all, you're going to have the lower end of a study like that are going to be in their percentage drags the entire total way,
Yeah,
way down. This isn't taking into consideration somebody who's been trained properly, and things like that. I think would be easy numbers for a good dealership that has a great process and everybody's trained to be able to blow that number out of the water. And the other thing for me is I don't get too caught up in the exact number of a study like this. To me, a study like this shines a light on the bigger issue. It doesn't matter if it's 27% or 35% or whatever. The point is that dealers and even companies outside of the automotive industry, there's room for improvement to greatly to take better advantage of the leads that they're paying so much money for.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or again, give effort towards those opportunities that they have and not allow your team to make a judgment call as to whether or not they deserve a certain contact.
Oh
I
yeah.
I think too, Joe, to kind of put a little icing on your cake of effort, which is that urgency, right? Urgent effort. Stan talks about all the time of, the first person to get to that response, because we know they're hitting multiple people up. And a lot of times these leads are sold to multiple dealerships. If you are urgent and quick on the effort, your odds go way up in this whole game
No
of
question.
response. And my teaching in all my trainings is, look, when there is a phone number, I loved what you said. There's a phone number. My order is this: phone, text, email, and my email response is going to be, "Hey Joe, I tried to call you. Hey, left you a text, and hey, here's an email with some more stuff." I'm doing all three of those. I don't care if I'm selling, cuddle to a person or a service or a car. I'm hitting those three on every single one of them. That's just built in my brain because of urgency, right? Waiting on stuff in this day and age is, people have an attention span of a gnat. So
Yeah.
you better do all three of those in under 5 minutes or you're freaking screwed. So,
Yep. No, I agree with it.
Well, another thing that I always teach when it comes to response time that you're talking about, Carl, is not only are there plenty of statistics. I haven't even had a green beer yet, and I
Yeah, well,
can't
I
even
mean,
say
no, you've only
statistic.
had the yellow ones, but you'll get to the green one.
But anyway, there's plenty of evidence out there that shows that whoever reaches and communicates effectively with a lead first, there's a great chance that they're going to buy from you. So
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons why a dealer should have a great system to respond quickly to leads. But the other one, and this one, I'm the only one that I've ever heard talk about this, but it's just human nature. If I'm sitting there and I'm on my computer or on my phone and I'm looking for a car, I'm putting some effort into this. I'm working on this now as a buyer. And then I hit that button and I become a lead. First of all, if someone reaches out to me quickly, there's probably a better chance that I'm going to answer the phone. There's a better chance, first of all, for me to go, wow, that is that's a hell of a service. I just hit that button and I'm already getting someone to help me buy this car. But the other thing, and this is the one that I never hear anybody else talk about, is if I get that person, let's say within 5 minutes of them hitting the button where they submit a lead, their brain is still on that, I want to buy a car. If we wait 20 minutes or 30 minutes or an hour to reach out to that person, they had to go take the kids to soccer practice or get back to work. Their brain's not thinking about the buying the car as much as it was if we respond quickly. So that's another thing that I like to promote to dealers on the importance of responding quickly. Get it while in that
Yeah.
mode.
Well, I mean, as Carl said, that if people have short attention spans, you better get them while they're on that topic.
yeah.
All right, I got a weird question for you, um, Joe.
I'll take it.
When Carl said he was going to ice your cake, you got a funny look on your face that did not show up on the Zoom because it only puts the person who's talking. But it looked to me like maybe your stand-up character had a pretty funny comeback. Maybe I
Well, I
misread
mean, no, well, I mean, like here, I was gonna go to Urban Dictionary, or Urban Thesaurus, but like a cake's a butt, And so anyway, let's not go down this route. But
Yes. Thanks, Joe.
yeah,
Thank you.
but with that
All right,
said,
but Joe, just so you know, I saw you, man. I
yeah,
knew you wanted to.
I know Carl wants to.
Hey, now.
So
Hey.
yeah, no, how'd you two hook up?
Oh, hey, now.
Now I'm gonna do it.
No, 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 no. I'm saying like, how'd you two connect?
Oh, good
And
question.
Stan, I've
I don't
never
know if
met
we
you
have.
before. I've met Carl a bunch of times.
Yeah.
You've been doing this podcast together. So tell me, how did you two meet?
Well,
Go ahead,
Stan,
Carl.
you tell your version first
All right,
because
so
it's funnier than mine.
I was working at TrueCar, and we were at I don't know, one of the conventions, Digital Dealer or something, and I don't even remember the company Carl was working with at that time. But Carl was standing all by himself in this tiny little booth, just kind of standing there and just had this look on his face. Uh, Carl denies this, but Carl sometimes will stand with his tongue like that. That's my first memory of seeing Carl, and the guys I was working with are like, "That's Carl Bauer. We're gonna see if we can get him to come to work at TrueCar." I'm like, "You want that guy to come and work at TrueCar?" But we were co-workers at TrueCar years and years ago, and became fast friends, and have done lots of other cool stuff since then.
So my version is at that same event, which it was a digital dealer. I think it was in Florida. Stan is a single man, so he has his day job, whatever that current day
Still
job.
with that hat?
Yeah, with that hat, believe it or not. Yeah. Yeah.
I deserve that.
I
I
don't know.
So
deserve that.
he
Go
he
figure.
yeah, he was at this event. It was out of state. So let's just say there was a a fresh pond to fish in. So
Mm.
Stan was busy between the event booth management to making calls for his after hours activities. So he was in, out, in, out, in, out. Like, what the frick is this guy doing? He's supposed to be here at this show managing this booth for TrueCar. Well, it turned out he was
That is
connecting with
a
some lady friends.
You just
bold-faced
swipe right,
lie.
swipe right,
That
swipe right,
is,
swipe right, swipe right, swipe right.
Exactly.
first of
Exactly.
all, I would not have to leave the booth to do that, but this is a bold-faced fabrication on the part
This
of
was my
Carl Bauer.
recollection. This is my
Yeah,
recollection. I'm not saying it was fact.
that is
Uh,
nonsense.
but my actual professional Joe connection with him was I did get the job at TrueCar, and then because the bosses they don't go pick up new hires at the airport or whatever, they sent Stan who was kind enough to come pick me up, be my chaperone, be my bodyguard, be my buddy for the first couple weeks I was there, and then later even like let me stay in his house, which we now fondly call the stanchion because he's had many guests who've been, transplanted to Austin for a week, a month, a year, come live with him at the stanchion. So he's my brother from another mother, and really helped. I started this channel back in COVID 2021. I put a whole bunch of episodes: how to buy a car, how to get financing. Those never hit the airwaves because I was in like witness protection in the dark in a hoodie, like creepy, lonely, COVID times. And then last year, 2025, January 1st, I'm like, Stan, we got to do this. There's some cool stuff we can share. And so I've had a couple other co-hosts, but predominantly 90% of these are Stan and I or Stan and I separately. So now we've got this little kind of creative outlet to talk to cool people like you and promote different um, educate, entertain, encourage people, and that. So that's kind of what we try and do here on the channel. And with
I thought you were gonna ask, hey, what drives you? And
yeah,
then it's gonna be all about just what is everybody's personal motivation.
well, it is a little bit of that, and we'll piece
Some of
this
that,
together
yeah.
and take some nuggets out. But that leads us to what actually does drive you, Joe. Stan,
No,
you
it
want to
doesn't.
you? It's a good segue though,
Yeah.
because I want to be respectful of your vacay time because I know you're on vacation. Stan, why don't you
No,
fire
I'm
away at
not.
the
I'm
rapid?
I'm at home. It's just my kids are on spring break, so we went and got them passports today, or like renewed their passports. So it's pretty easy. We've got a cute little beach house 45 minutes away in Daytona that we go to, but we probably won't get to that until later in the week. So for
But
the most part, I'm still working.
you're good. All right.
We appreciate you. All right. Well, here's what Carl was alluding to. We asked most of our guests. We've had a few that it didn't seem the right time to ask these things, but here's our rapid fire questions. Are you ready, sir?
Yeah, no, hell, hit me with as many as you want because this is
These
what
are
it does.
tough. These are tough. What was the first car you ever owned, Joe?
Um, officially a 1969 Camaro that was my grandfather's that was willed to me, but it scared the hell out of me because
No.
it scared the hell out of me if I were to wreck that thing, then I would be the black sheep of the family. So my grandmother sold that and gave me some of the proceeds from that to put down towards my first vehicle, which was a 1987 Eagle Premier,
Wow.
which
69
I which
Camaro
I
was my
which I totaled 3 months later. So
Oh no.
I was right to
nice.
agree with that.
Yeah, the 61 or 69 Camaro was for the longest time my dream car, which we'll get to in just a second. But Joe, okay, that was your first car. What has been your favorite car that you've ever had?
Ooh, I will tell you, and this is going to show you what a boring dad I am, but I don't know if anybody makes a better vehicle than the loaded up Toyota Sienna minivan. Like when my kids were young, the functionality of a Toyota Sienna. And listen, the ingress and egress, getting in and out, the sitting up, the field of vision that thing has. Because when you go to visit family or friends with a newborn or well, a toddler, whatever, like a baby, you're packing like a pack and play, then you're packing the sleeping pack and play, then you're packing the high chair, then you're packing like all this other stuff to occupy them, and it can only fit in a Toyota Sienna minivan. So the best vehicle I've ever owned, I will say, was a Toyota Sienna minivan. And the government should literally just like give every new set of parents a Toyota Sienna minivan just permanently. Like that's what our taxes should pay for, is to allow every family to get one Toyota Sienna minivan and it lasts them forever.
The world would be a better place.
Yes.
All right.
That's what I
Doesn't take
love.
much now, but yes.
That's what I love hate about minivans. They are so freaking practical.
Yeah, I
And
don't know.
then
It's amazing. If I had more faith in myself, if I didn't care as much as I do, and I don't really, but like I just couldn't be a dad who's like has teenage kids and still drives the Toyota Sienna minivan. But I still like it's great. Like if you have a couple drinks as well, I'm not advocating this, okay? I'm not advocating this.
thank you.
But if you have a couple drinks and you're like coming back from a restaurant out with friends and it's like the sun has gone down, you just pop open the DVD player and you play a kids show because even if a cop sees you swerve or sees you speed, they're like, they probably got sleeping kids they're just trying to get back home to. And they just,
Zip right by.
yeah.
There you go. Drinking and Driving 101 by Joe Webb. There you go,
Listen,
folks. All right.
I'm not
What
Irish.
is your
By
budget is not a concern. What would be your dream vehicle?
I like I don't love vehicles the way some people do, even though I'm in this industry. So I would say I think it's a 1970 Plymouth Superbird, or a Pterodyne Gurkha.
I have no idea what
Pterodyne,
that is.
Pterodyne Gurkha is a street legal giant, armored like zombie apocalypse vehicle on a truck frame that is
Ooh.
absolutely cool. And it's so funny. I was visiting a client in Chicago and we were talking about vehicles and I said I really don't have I'm like, I had the Toyota Sienna minivan. Like, what? Give me one vehicle, Toyota Sienna minivan. Like that's what I used to say. And he's like, well, name a couple others. And I said, 1970 Plymouth Superbird, and or the a Pterodyne Gurkha. And he said, follow me. I want to show you something. And he had this huge on property behind his dealership, huge warehouse that he had no crap. He had like 20 of his own vehicles, but he had both of them. He had both of them. He didn't want to let me drive them, but he had both of them that I was able to get in and sit in, and that was a real the fact that one guy, dealer owner operator, had my two vehicles literally within 50 feet of each other blew my mind.
We're not going to use any names, but was that in Oak Lawn?
No, that was in I mean I can tell you the dealership. It was Roche. Where's the Roche?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, look at
Where's
that
Roche?
thing.
Larry,
Gun turrets
Dan
are
Roche.
optional. I
Yeah,
see.
Dan.
I just Googled it.
Stan, maybe we'll have to put a picture up in the edits,
Okay.
in the post.
We'll Photoshop Joe waving out the window of a Pterodyne Gurkha.
Well, that
Uh,
has been funny, Joe, because Stan, his little secret little passion now is AI. So
Oh, yeah.
he's not only is he an aspiring comedian, we'll see, but he is actually a very talented musician, a magician that blows my mind every time I come down because he's got a new trick for me that
That's
seems
awesome.
seems flawless. Like yeah, so I always envision him like in the middle of the night practicing in front of the mirror because he's a single guy lives alone, and then I show up and the
Whoa,
trick
whoa,
is
whoa, whoa. You're saying he practices magic and he's single? I don't see how that's possible.
and
I don't see how.
if
when
if
did
I
this
could send you
become the what drives you both to blow me a bunch of crap episode? I don't get it. How did this get turned around like this? Is it the hat? Is it the hat?
Listen,
it's a
that
little
hat,
the hat.
yeah, that hat is slick. Nobody's gonna argue
Joe,
that.
Wait,
I
what are
may be alone,
those
but I'm rarely lonely. Let me just put it that way.
Yeah, no,
those
I got
leather
chaps.
well they're not chaps, no, the things that the German guy, the yodelers wear,
This-
what are those called?
yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Lederhosen.
Lederhosen. That's
Yeah. Well, I'm
Stan.
saving those until I go out tonight. I didn't
Yeah.
think it would be appropriate for
It's
this
got it's like
episode.
he pulls out all October.
Yeah,
He's,
All
I do.
October.
Yeah.
he no he
I
had a
don't understand what's the problem here. I don't why I feel like you
Joel,
guys are
I'm going to
giving me a
send you
hard
the
time
picture.
about that.
After the episode, I'm going to send you the picture. It's just it's worthy. If he had that hat on and these Lederhosen things,
Lederhosen.
He
That
just
is for October. That's not for the Irish.
knock him down like a bowling ball. Yeah.
I will
yes.
be wearing my leprechaun outfit when I go out tonight. So
Good
with
luck
this
with that.
hat.
Good
All
luck with
right,
that, Blaze.
let's
Okay.
wrap this up. I can't take this abuse anymore. Let's wrap this thing
So
up.
the wrap, Joe, is what we call, excuse me, our wow question. Words of wisdom. What would this age Joe Webb, with all his wisdom and experience and polish, tell 18-year-old Chicago Joe? What would he tell him that he wished he knew then, which he knows now? What would you tell yourself?
I know a Chicago Joe.
It's well, by all means invest in Amazon, right? Like that would be like if you could go back. So a real quick funny story. Um After college, got my car, got my first job for Miller Brewing Company, and I had a little money and I wanted to put it towards stock. And this shows you how nerdy I am because I'm a movie buff. And they had just announced that George Lucas is creating Star Wars, the Star Wars prequel. So I said, Dad, I'm going to invest in some stock and I'm going to spend $2,500 in Hasbro because they own the rights to the Star Wars figurines and we know figures and we know how the Star Wars figures were like huge for years and years and years. And I'm going to invest in the Star Wars figures and I've got another $2,500 that I'm going to put towards this company called Amazon. So this is 98. And he says, you don't want to do that. He says, you don't do that. He's like, the online bookstore, that's throwing your money away. Put it in Xerox. He said,
Oh no.
Xerox copiers, they're going to come back in a big way. They're down now. My dad is, to this day, the smartest businessman I'll ever know. Really, he's the one person that I go to for any that I see any logical conversation on, and I need words of wisdom. I go to my dad. But he said, invest in Xerox. Don't throw your money away on that online bookstore. So I put the 2,500 in Hasbro, 2,500 in Xerox. I turned that 5 grand into 2 grand really fast. Okay.
Nice.
That $2,500 in 1998, don't want to know what that would have been in Amazon, like for
Oh yeah.
Amazon. I don't even like when I think about it, I just go and try to kick a neighbor's dog. So, but either way, so that I would tell my old self, and I believe I'm smarter now than I was then. And even though I was a decent kid in high school and I was a decent student in college, I think I would have made him realize how fun it is to learn at an early age than when you're older and everything sort of slips and things get less fun to learn.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, those are good. Joe, man, thank you so much for
No, thank
taking
you
your
for having
time
me,
to be
Stan.
with us on this. It's been a lot of fun. I really appreciate the both of you ganging up on me like that, but it's a
Two little quips. What were you expecting? You're going on
good
stage.
point.
You're going
Good
on
point.
stage. You better get ready.
I think what you're saying is I got off easy. I got off light.
No, no,
But
no.
hey,
Yeah, that's
very
not how
much
you.
appreciate you taking your time, man. Thank you. This has been real enjoyable. I'm sure we'd have a lot more to talk about. Maybe we'll have to have you on for another episode here in the not too distant future.
Love to. You say that, but really, he's like, never again, never again. I don't know why you picked this one, Carl.
Put him on. Put him on the
I just
blacklist.
text Carl. I'm like, where did you find this guy? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
No, it's been great, Joe. Thank you, Carl. Always great to see you. Happy St. Patrick's Day to both of you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on this edition of What Drives You. And as we always like to say, remember, be good humans.